everyone, and welcome to the Rebirth Summit 2025 Stories of Unyielding Courage. I'm Amy Pease, host of Passion from Pain, the podcast, where we spotlight powerful voices from around the globe. I help individuals that are overcoming themselves in the aftermath of leaving abusive, toxic, manipulative situations behind. I am honored to be selected as an interviewer for this international summit featuring 100+ inspiring stories of transformation and rebirth. And our next guest is no exception. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Seth Payne, and his story is just incredible as a U.S. Marine veteran, father, and transformational coach who is living proof of resilience and rebirth. After years of addiction, PTSD, and survival cycles that nearly ended his life, rock bottom became the fertile ground for his awakening. From there, a path of deep renewal began, and today he helps the 1% truly become the 1%, those who hustle hard but have no hope. From corporate leaders to athletes to emergency service professionals and anyone ready to break free. He guides people out of performance-based living and into a space of peace, purpose, and power through the coaching practices he has founded. His approach blends neuroscience, personal experience, and brutal honesty to help guide others to rediscover their limitless potentials. His mission is simple: to help others create a life built on peace, not performance. Everybody, let's welcome Mr. Seth Payne to the conversation. Sir, thank you so much for your service, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm honored to interview you.
Hey, Amy, thank you so much for having me. I feel extremely blessed to be here. I'm excited to go through with this.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's start right at the beginning, the very beginning. What was life like before your transformation? Describe the situation emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. Help us really feel where you were.
Gotcha. So whenever I've come from a really small town in Western
Okay.
North Carolina, and it's the kind of place where everybody knows everybody. If you get in trouble growing up, by the time you get home, everybody knows. So one of the things I didn't realize, I was conditioned early on to kind of wear this mask that everything was okay.
Mhm.
And got out of the Marine Corps, moved back home, was in that same community, and that was the mask that I wore. Everything was fine. I was married. I worked a job. Everything looked good on the outside until it didn't.
Yeah.
It got to the point where my son's mother, she was unable to help me hide the problems that we was having, and it was a slow downward spiral to the point of just feeling hopeless,
Yeah.
out of control, out of tune with who I was. Completely lost my sense of purpose, and actually got to the point where I'd even lost my will to live.
Mhm. Wow. Oh man, I can feel that. I'm so sorry for where you were. I've been there, and I understand on a level that a lot can't exactly how you felt then, and so what was the breaking point or the turning point? Was there a major moment or situation that forced a change on you? What happened?
Yeah, there was a situation for sure that forced a change. I wish I could say that it was my turning point, that I was the one that chose it and everything, but that wasn't the
Mhm.
case, if I'm honest about it.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I was ready to end it all. And
Mhm.
fortunately, once again, my son's mother, she was my angel for many, many years,
Mhm.
stepped in and forced me back into another rehab, or highly suggested, I guess is the best way to put it. Stopped me from being able to take the actions to do any harm to myself.
Mhm.
And at that same time, we had the birth of our son. Now, I can't sit here honestly and tell you that the birth of my son was even what changed my life. Him almost being born was almost the greatest excuse that I used for being unworthy to be a father. It kind of almost ended it all. But it was during that time, whenever I finally went to my final rehab in Houston, Texas, where I began to shift, and there were some things that began to change. And again, I wish I could say that it was my own doing, that I wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I don't care how it happened. I'm just grateful that it did.
Grateful that it did. And so it's almost like God had other plans for you. We're not doing this, and you have something that you are supposed to give to the world, and you need to be here. And that's I believe that that's what happened for you, because I do believe that you have a message and a story that so many others need to hear. There's too many veterans out there suffering with PTSD and in the same situation that you were in. And I believe you're going to help a lot of people. And I think your story is just exactly what is needed out there. So what did your transformation like really feel like? Tell us the internal process. Walk us through that. What were your fears and your breakthroughs, the healing? What did that look like? Decisions and the steps forward. What was the transformation?
You said a word there that I've had to become really comfortable with, and that
Mhm.
is fears. Being a
Yeah.
United States Marine, being a male, being conditioned in this way where you're not supposed to be scared of anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was literally conditioned to the point where I could walk towards the sound of bullets.
Mhm.
That's not something that's innate in our human nature, is to walk towards danger. Our fight or flight system actually tells us to run, and I'd been
Mhm.
conditioned to the point to walk toward them. So to
Mhm.
actually come to the point where I was comfortable admitting how scared that I was about everything in life, the
Yeah.
fact that I had carried on this narrative loop in my own head for so many years that I didn't know how to break, the fear of being a father, the fear I carried around being a husband that wasn't able to provide at the time.
Yeah.
My whole life was based on fear.
Mhm.
And the cool thing about it, and the part that actually sparked the change and the growth that began, was I I was still completely lost as could be. I was laying in my bed every night, almost crying myself to sleep, wondering how I could change, or was this my life? This wasn't my first rehab. My life looked like rehab and relapse. And
Mhm.
I was like, there's got to be something. Like, is this my life? If this is my life, it's not worth living. And like,
Yeah.
even still, while I'm sitting in rehab, if this is my life, it's not worth living. So we
Mhm.
got to figure something out. And there was something that kind of just came to me. Call it spirit, call it intuition, call it the universe, call it God. That
Yeah.
said it's a subconscious problem. It's something deeper than your conscious thoughts. And fortunately, I could read it. The program I was at, my sister sent me the book, "The Power of Your Subconscious Mind," I believe the name of it is,
Yeah.
by James Murphy, if I'm not mistaken. And that kind of got me interested. And then she sent me "Rewire Your Brain" by Dr. Caroline Leaf, who is a neuroscientist.
It's a good one.
And in that book, she talks about neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, and how we can physically rewire our brains. And that landed with me. It was it was the first time that anybody told me that I could actually play a role in this, that I could physically do something in my brain up here to actually rewire myself and create kind of the life that I wanted to live.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like somebody flipped a switch or anything like that, but that day moving forward, I decided that, I think the subtitle of her book at the time was "A 21-Day Brain Detox."
Mhm.
And I knew a physical detox, I'd had plenty of those, but nobody had ever told me anything about the brain. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I got a minimum of 6 months here. It's not going to hurt me to try it. I'll go ahead and become my own scientist. I'll be the experiment. Let's see what happens. So I
Mhm.
ended up creating my day from 4 a.m. to the morning till 7 a.m. when that program started, to begin rewiring my brain. Like
Wow.
I said, it didn't happen overnight, but one of the cool things that happened was whenever I realized the conditioning process that had taken place earlier in life. I didn't realize how early at the time, but just looking back to the Marine Corps, where they take a civilian individual and 13 weeks condition them into being whatever he needs to be for their country. That's a whole lot of conditioning that happens that wires the brain very, very quickly, which is pretty spectacular in retrospect. But it also shows us the power of what we can do afterwards. And that
Mhm.
was the power that lit the fire inside of me. If my brain had been conditioned once, that means now I could recondition it. So that was the challenge that I undertook.
It's a beautiful point that you just made there because it is absolutely possible. I talk about neuroplasticity on my podcast a lot and with my clients because when you do go through trauma of any kind, you are going through a brainwashing process, and you don't realize it. And the military absolutely is a hardcore example of exactly what they do to individuals that come in. They absolutely rewire that brain, and like you said, if they rewired it for you and they brainwashed you, you can't undo all of that. And so I am so glad that you found that information and you were able to go through that to now help others do the same thing, because it is a possibility. It is something that does work if you put the work into it. And you did, you put the work into it. And so I love that. So where or who, excuse me, or what really supported you on this journey, because it's not an easy one. Going through rehab and relapse, it's not an easy journey at all. Did you have people, faith, tools, practices that just help to carry you through the process?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I learned is that support can look very, very different in different ways.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do in my regular daytime job now is I tell individuals that some of the greatest support that I received is the people that love me the most in my life actually walked out of my life
Mm,
because they was literally tired of watching me kill myself.
mm,
Um, I can't imagine the pain that I actually put them through, um,
mm.
still to this day, and because of that,
Yeah.
but they love me enough to walk away, and I'm extremely grateful for it now. It's one of the biggest blessings that I've ever received. Um, I've always had the utmost support from my sister, she was a cheerleader growing up, and she's always been one of my biggest cheerleaders. And then even today, still have the support from my son's mother. And it may not always look like support necessarily for me, but
Yeah.
dang, let me tell you, she's doing an amazing job raising our baby boy.
How wonderful. How wonderful to have that in your life to help keep you going. It's amazing, just those little things that make such a huge impact and difference on our journey. And
Yeah.
so where are you now on your journey? Tell us how life has changed. What is different now than it was before?
Thank you for that question because it's beautiful. Like life is absolutely beautiful. I deal with me every single day, and when I say that, it's the same exact individuals. And um, if I'm honest about it, I'm just as judgmental towards them as they probably would have been about me 2 years ago,
Yeah.
where the amount of growth that I've had in this time is almost astronomical to me.
Yeah.
And the level of peace that I now have in my life. And
Yeah.
that's the most gratifying thing for sure,
Mhm.
is that life still does life things. I'm not saying my life's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Half the time, whenever I run my mouth about, hey, I'm working on this in my brain, usually life will throw circumstances or situations at me to see how I'm going to handle it. Because
Yeah.
am I going to put my money where my mouth is?
Yeah.
But the amount of peace that I've been able to walk through the situations that I've had over the past 2 years, it continues to grow. I'm also
Wow.
very much still enthralled in my own journey. I'm constantly
Mhm.
doing the things that I need to do to continue to make myself better.
Mhm. Wow. So incredible. And you can just tell on your face and in your voice that this is a passion for you. When you tell your story of before, you can feel the emotion, you can see the emotion, you can hear that in your voice, and it's really powerful. And when I just asked you about life now, your face just completely lit up, and you can tell that you have put the work into yourself. And that, but you're very real and raw and honest about what that is and what that looks like. And I really appreciate that message that you're putting out there. You're going to speak to so many individuals that are there right now, And so how are you using those experiences, two vastly different experiences, essentially, to help others? What business, mission, or work are you doing today because of what you've been through?
Well, one of the biggest things that for me personally, I've come to realize is there's not a whole lot of difference in us human beings. We've all experienced something and we're all going through something and we all kind of want something better.
Yeah.
Today, though, I'm the general manager for the PTSD Foundation of America down in Houston, Texas. So I literally help guys from all over the nation that are combat veterans that struggle with PTSD and substance abuse find the treatment that they need, that they deserve, that their family wants them to get. Hopefully, they want the treatment as well. Unfortunately, kind of on that side of the house, we deal with individuals that aren't necessarily ready to let go or think that they have a problem that needs to be fixed. And I say that with the utmost empathy because I was the same guy. Like, I had it under control. I didn't need to fix my problem. Everybody else was the problem. It wasn't me. And then on the other side of the house, I help those that are actually searching and looking for better, I don't want to say better things in life, but more to life. As it said kind of in my bio, I help the 1% truly become the 1%. And what that means is, they go to work, but they come home and they feel empty. But their life looks good on the outside, but they still feel like something's missing, or they feel like they're the only ones that are going through it, and everybody always comes to them with problems. But who do they go to?
Mm-hmm.
And I take them to a place where they actually find ultimate peace.
Yeah.
Because once we have that peace, then life actually begins to open up. Things actually begin to flow to us and get out of the trap. It's been said multiple times here today. Like, we've grown up in a culture that's hustle hard, but you have no hope. It's kind of the phrase that I ended up putting to it. Grind, 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 grind. But the coolest thing about it, whenever you start actually adjusting your nervous system, calming down, slowing down a little bit, things come to you.
Yeah.
And when you're walking on the path that you're meant to be walking, it's easy to say yes. And it's even easier to say no, which a lot of the times can be one of the most difficult things.
Yeah.
So just aligning with yourself and then finding that peace moving forward.
Yeah. Wonderfully said. Wonderfully said. And what message do you have for someone who is still stuck, or in that pain, or that cycle of relapse and rehab? If someone's listening who's where you used to be, what do you want to tell them?
First off, you're not broken. We live in a society that wants to tell you that you're broken, you need A, B, or C, or you need pills to help you with this. Like, you're not broken. The problem is that you have an inner calling within inside of you that's calling you to something higher. And that, you can call it your innate self, you can call it your being, you can call it spirit, but you are designed and created to create more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you to actually unlock that. We've been given the tools within ourselves, within our body, by a divine intelligence to be able to do amazing things. So believe in the divine intelligence that's placed inside of you. There's so much going on inside this body that we're not in control over, but yet we can tap into that power and do great things. And that's in each and every one of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And there's so much truth in that. Thank you so much, Seth, for sharing your heart, and your powerful story, your authenticity, your rawness, and just the emotions that you put behind your storytelling is exactly what we need in this world. More of that, less of the polished scripts. And so I appreciate that. Your journey is a beacon of hope for other veterans, and others in that addiction cycle. This has been another incredible conversation on the Rebirth Summit 2025, Stories of Unyielding Courage. I'm Amy Pease, and it has been an honor to host this interview as part of this global movement for healing and transformation. Stay tuned for more interviews from courageous speakers all around the world. And until next time, this is Rebirth TV signing off. I love you guys. See you next time.